Good morning, students. Today we will learn about feminist criticism and Alan Showalter's work, A Literature of Their Own Revisited. What is feminist criticism? Feminist criticism is a critical approach to literature and other cultural texts that examines how gender, sexuality, and power dynamics are represented and how these representations affect women and other marginalized groups. It has three waves: first wave, second wave, and third wave. American feminist criticism. Feminist criticism in America emerged in 1960, influenced by earlier European figures like Virginia Woolf, Simone de Beauvoir, Alan Showalter. Alan Showalter is a feminist critic, an influential American feminist critic, born in 1941. Major works of Alan Showalter are A Literature of Their Own, 1977, Towards a Feminist Poetics, 1979, Female Melody, Women, Madness, and English Culture, 1985, Sexual Anarchy, Gender and Culture at the Fin-de-Siècle, 1990. Histories, Hysterical, Epidemics, and Modern Media, 1997. Key concepts of her are Gyanocriticism, Three Faces, the Female Literary Tradition. Alan Showalter book 20 Years On, A Literature of Their Own Revisited, look back at her earlier important book from 1977, A Literature of Their Own, British women novelist from Bronte to Lessing. What her original book said, Showalter suggested that the history of women writing in Britain can be understood in three stages: feminine phase, 1840 to 1880. Women writers copied male writers and accepted traditional ideas about women in feminine phase. Next one is feminist phase, 1880 to 1920, when women writers challenged male dominance and fought for women's rights and independence. Third one is female phase, 1920 to present. Women writers focused on exploring their own identities and experiences. What her revisited book does? In 20 Years On, Showalter addresses criticism of her original work and acknowledges how feminist literary studies and the study of women's literature have changed over the past 2 decades. A number of feminist texts have attempted to identify alternative and neglected traditions of female writing. These have included Patricia Meyer Spack's The Female Imagination, 1975, Alan Moore's Literary Women, 1976, and Sandra Gilbert and Susan Goubard's The Mad Women in the Attic, 1979. The most influential work of this kind was Alan Showalter's A Literature of Their Own, 1977, which raised three faces of women writing. Impact of this book was, the book was a pioneering work in feminist literary criticism, rediscovering forgotten women authors and establishing a new area of literary study. Focus. The original book examined the works of British women novelists from Bronte's sister to Doris Lessing, tracing their literary development from imitation of male author to a more independent and self-aware female voice. इसका मतलब ये है कि जैसे कि एलन शोवाल्टर ने 1977 में अपना एक वर्क जो है लिखती है, अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ओन. उस बुक पर जो क्रिटिसिज्म्स आया या उसको जिस तरह से रीडर्स ने या क्रिटिक्स ने एनालाइज किया, तो उन सब को जो है वो अपने ऐसे अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ओन 20 years ऑन अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ऑन रिविजिटेड में वो इनको सबको जो है एड्रेस करती हैं. लेट्स रीड द टेक्स्ट. 20 years on, a literature of their own revisited. Alan Showalter. In 1965, when I began to research my PhD dissertation on Victorian women writers, feminist criticism did not exist. मतलब यहाँ पे जो एलन शोवाल्टर ने अपनी जो बुक, जो अपनी रिसर्च थी, जो मतलब कि रिसर्च कर रही थी, वो पीएचडी डिजर्टेशन पर वर्क कर रही थी विक्टोरियन वीमेन राइटर्स पे, तो उस टाइम जो है फेमिनिस्ट क्रिटिसिज्म एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करता था. वर्जीनिया वुल्फ्स लेटर्स एंड डायरीज वर स्कैटर्ड एंड अनपब्लिश्ड. जो वर्जीनिया वुल्फ है उनका जो लेटर्स है, उनकी जो डायरीज हैं, वो सब स्कैटर्ड थी और अनपब्लिश्ड थी. स्कॉलर्स स्टिल कॉल्ड एलिजाबेथ गैस्केल मिसेस एंड फ्रांसिस बर्ने फैनी. नो वन एडिटेड विमेन स्टडीज जर्नल or compiled bibliographies of women's writing. At the University of California at Davis, where I was studying, theory was not even a shadow on the sunny horizon. And the new criticism, F.R. Lewis, North of Fry, and Seven Kinds of Ambiguity marked the boundaries of my critical sophistication. I had chosen my thesis topic in part out of lingering anger at my undergraduate college, Brandmauer, where English majors were required to read every 10th rate male romantic poet and Elizabethan dramatist, but virtually no women, and in part out of my own devotion to the Victorian women writers. मतलब उस टाइम जो है वीमेन राइटर्स को पढ़ाया ही नहीं गया था उनके कॉलेज में, तो वो अपने कॉलेज में इस बात को लेकर बहुत ज़्यादा गुस्सा थी. Professional opportunities for academic women seemed so limited in the mid-1960s that I felt paradoxically freed to write about the books I liked rather than the ones most likely to get me a job. Gwendolyn Needham, my thesis advisor at the University of California at Davis, was sympathetic to my ideas and demanding about my scholarship, but my dissertation, the double standard criticism of women writers in Victorian periodical 1845 to 1880, was a hybrid in an attempt to write about women in an outmoded and inadequate critical vocabulary. Princeton University, where I actually wrote most of the dissertation as a faculty wife from 1966 on, did not hire women, but it had the fabulous Parish collection of Victorian fiction, and all the Victorian journals were still on the open shelves, although only the first volume of Wellesley Index to Victorian periodicals was available to help me identify anonymous reviewers. कोई मैटर भी नहीं था जब वो अपने लिए लिख रही थी, तो बस एक उनको क्या मिला था, वेल्सली इंडेक्स टू विक्टोरियन पीरियोडिकल मिला था. वो ही बस उसमें ही एनोनिमस रिव्यूअर्स जो थे वो आइडेंटिफाई उसने, अवेलेबल टू हेल्प मी आइडेंटिफाई एनोनिमस रिव्यूअर्स. By 1970, when I got my PhD and had my second child during the same month, the mood of country had changed and I had become an active member of women's liberation movement. I had spent the summer of 1968 in Paris with my husband and daughter, living in a communal household of French, English and American students and professors in the aftermath of the politically transformative event of May. And I had been involved with the anti-war protest at the MLA that December. In Princeton, a branch of NOW opened in 1969 and I joined immediately. There were only 17 of us. मतलब कि वो 17 ही लोग थे at the beginning starting में, but we were full of energy, पर हम full थे energy से, and organized a daycare center still running, consciousness raising groups, a newsletter which I edited, a booklet on sex stereotyping in children's books, a state conference on women's rights, and trips to meeting with groups in New York and Philadelphia by 1970. I was president of the group, had started writing for radical feminism, had joined the advisory board of the feminist press, and was editing an anthology called Women's Liberation and Literature at Douglas College, the Women's College of Rutgers University. I had been promoted from part-time lecturer to assistant professor and had started to teach courses on women writers. मतलब अब उनको जो है मतलब कि उन स्टार्टेड कर दिया गया था कि देखिए आई हैड बीन प्रमोटेड, मतलब वो प्रमोट कर दी गई थी पार्ट टाइम लेक्चरर से असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर, एंड हैड स्टार्टेड टू टीच कोर्सेज ऑन विमेन राइटर्स, और विमेन राइटर्स पे उन्होंने कोर्सेज को टीच करना स्टार्ट कर दिया था. एज द इशू इन माई वर्क एंड माई लाइफ took on new meaning in the light of feminism, I began to envisage a much bolder critical undertaking than my thesis, and to imagine a literary criticism that would do for the history of women's writing what Northrop Frye had done for Canadian literature, or even what Perry Miller and Northrop Frye had done for Canadian literature, or even what Perry Miller and F.O. Mathieson had done for American literature. Working with the feminist press was an inspiration. Florence Hovey, the late Carol Ohman, the late Elegant Hedges, and Mary Ann Ferguson were senior scholars who became mentor and models. At Princeton, and Douglas had become the first women in the English department. We spent long hours talking about our work and arranged a deal. She could have American women writers, I would have the British. मतलब उनकी जो एन डगलस है वो वहाँ पे दोनों कंपेनियन हो गए थे इंग्लिश डिपार्टमेंट में, और वो अमेरिकन राइटर्स पर लिख रही थी और एलन शोवाल्टर जो है वो ब्रिटिश राइटर्स पर लिख रही थी. देयर सीम टू बी नो स्कॉलरली कंपटीशन फॉर द टर्फ, मतलब कि कोई कंपटीशन ही नहीं था, दोनों के टॉपिक अलग अलग थे. बट हाउ शुड फेमिनिस्ट लिटरेरी क्रिटिसिज्म एंड फेमिनिस्ट लिटरेरी हिस्ट्री बी carried out, building on an ideal of heroic scholarship in the Perry Miller tradition, and on my own critical heroes, Kathleen Tillotson and Northrop Frye. I set myself the task of filling in the gaps between Austen and Lessing by reading as many novels by English women as I could find. मतलब कि उन्होंने उतने मतलब कि novels पढ़े जितने कि उनको मिले, and trying to understand the way they related to each other, और उन सबको relate किया कि वो कैसे एक दूसरे से related है. If there was a female literary tradition, I was sure it come from imitation, literary convention, the marketplace, and critical reception, not from biology or psychology. My theoretical assumptions came from the sociology and ethnography of literature, looking at such literary subcultures as African American writing, Canadian writing, and Anglo-Indian writing. I attempted to define women's writing as the product of a subculture, evolving with relation to a dominant mainstream. In its evolution, I argued women's writing moves in the direction of an all inclusive female realism, a broad, socially informed exploration of the daily lives and values of women within the family and the community. A literature 29. But a mature women's literature ceases to be part of a subculture and can move into a seamless participation in the literary mainstream. As good as the Paris collection books and manuscripts were, I was still missing many minor writers, and I knew I needed to go to England with the support of Richard Poirier and Frederick Main at Rutgers. I got an English department fellowship and spent a year in London trying to track down books. The London Library and the British Museum had endless treasures, and the very first week I arrived, I had the good omen of meeting Margaret Drabble in the rounding reading room, traveling around Chile municipal libraries in England. Libraries in England in quest of women writers archives. I was often rewarded by becoming the first scholar to read a harrowing journal or open a box of letters. In the cold, dark winter of 1973, the notorious British year of strikes, labor struggles, and systematic power blackouts, I even read sometimes by कैंडल लाइट. या एलन शोवाल्टर बोल रही हैं कि ब्लैकआउट के दौरान वो बिल्कुल कैंडल लाइट से पढ़ रही थी, है ना. विक्टोरियन विमेन राइटर्स हुम आई थॉट बाय देयर इनिशियल्स, मतलब कि उनके स्टार्टिंग से जो उनको सोच रही थी कि सी बी जी ई जी ई बी बी. तो सी बी चार्लोट ब्रेंटे, जी ई जॉर्ज इलियट, मैरी एन इवांस जिनका रियल नेम था, ई जी एलिजाबेथ गैस्कल, EBB. EBB यहाँ पर क्या है? एलिजाबेथ बैरेट ब्राउनिंग became my closest companions following and Douglas example. I started to buy Victorian women's novel second hand from street market and shops and to build my own collection. यहाँ पे जो है एलन शोवाल्टर बोल रही हैं कि जो है ना वो ना विमेन नॉवेल्स को जो हैं सेकेंड हैंड नॉवेल्स लेकर स्ट्रीट मार्केट से और शॉप से और अपना कलेक्शन वो बना रही थी. एंड इन WSPU आर्चिव्स. ये WSPU क्या है? WSPU का मतलब है विमेन सोशल एंड पॉलिटिकल यूनियन, militant wing of British women's suffrage movement. WSPU was founded in Manchester in 1903 by Emmeline Pankhurst, along with the more conservative National Union of Women's Suffrage Societies NUWSS, founded in 1897. The WSPU sought vote for women in a country that had expressly denied women suffrage in 1832. Thousands at Kensington Places. Kensington Palace. And the women movement collection at the Fawcett Library, I found Free Jones in the library world, newfoundland for scholars to explore. My reading raised some questions I did not know how to answer about the autonomy of women's literary tradition. But I felt sure that there would be an audience for my book, and the writers themselves kept me going as I read about their hopes at all their struggles and failures would make a difference to the women who came after. They gave me the confidence to believe that even if I were not Northrop Frye's sister, the great feminist critic who would get everything right. It was enough to find the courage to write exactly what I thought and to be willing to share my own struggles and errors in the faith that the critics who came after me would know more and do better. When I returned from London, I sent the manuscripts to Princeton University Press and they accepted it with some substantial cuts. Half of the chapter on Virginia Woolf, with a long reading of The Voyage Out, Bit the Dust, and their titles committee, changed my working title from The Female Tradition in the English Novel to A Literature of Their Own. A phrase they took from a statement by John Stuart Mill, whom I caught on the first page in the third sentence of the book. If women lived in a different country from man and had never read any of their writing, they would have a literature of their own. मतलब जब उन्होंने अपनी जो मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट थी, जब उन्होंने उसको पब्लिश करने के लिए भेजा, तो जो टाइटल कमेटी थी, तो उन्होंने क्या किया कि जो उनका ओरिजिनल टाइटल था द फीमेल ट्रेडिशन इन द इंग्लिश नॉवल से उसको चेंज कर दिया, अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ओन कर दिया. तो और ये जो फ्रेज थी उन्होंने मेरी जो बुक है, मेरी जो मतलब कि ये फ्रेज जो है, जो मैंने एक स्टेटमेंट दिया था जॉन स्टुअर्ट मिल की, जो मैंने जॉन स्टुअर्ट मिल को मैंने कोट किया था, उनका जो मतलब कि सब्जुगेशन ऑफ विमेन एक वर्क है, उसमें से मैंने इसको लिया था. और वो था, इफ विमेन लिव्ड इन ए डिफरेंट कंट्री फ्रॉम मैन and had never read any of their writings, they would have a literature of their own. तो यहाँ से उन्होंने जो है मेरा जो ये टाइटल कमेटी है, उन्होंने ये मेरा टाइटल रख दिया था. आई लाइक द न्यू टाइटल. अब शोवाल्टर कहती हैं कि मुझे जो ये नया टाइटल है वो काफ़ी पसंद आया, पसंद किया, मतलब कि मुझे बहुत पसंद आया. बिकॉज दिस सेंटेंस फ्रॉम मिल्स द सब्जुगेशन द सब्जेक्शन ऑफ वीमेन वाज माई डिपार्चर पॉइंट. इट रेज्ड द इशू ऑफ नेशनैलिटी. तो ये सब्जेक्शन ऑफ विमेन जो है वर्क था स्टुअर्ट मिल का, जिससे उन्होंने ये एक जो है सेंटेंस क्वेट किया था यहाँ पे, जो है क्वेट किया था, तो उसी से जो है उन्होंने अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ओन, मतलब कि उन्होंने मतलब जो टाइटल कमेटी थी उन्होंने मेरी बुक का नाम जो है अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ओन रख दिया. Was my departure point. इट रेज द इशू ऑफ नेशनैलिटी. अब इन्होंने जो है नेशनैलिटी का इशू भी जो है रेज कर दिया, बिकॉज जो एलन शोवाल्टर है वो अमेरिकन राइटर है, और जो विक्टोरियन राइटर्स हैं जिनके बारे में वो लिख रही हैं वो सब ब्रिटिश हैं. सब कल्चर, लिटरेरी इन्फ्लुएंस एंड लिटरेरी ऑटोनॉमी. आई हैड अटेम्प्टेड टू थ्योराइज एंड इन the word their rather than our. It emphasized my own culture distance, means cultural distance यहाँ पे हो गया, as an American from the English women I discussed. The phrase of their own or of our own in the titles of feminist scholarly and popular books has certainly had a quite a wag in the past 20 years. But almost all reviewers of the book ignored my reference to Mill. मतलब यहाँ पे वो डिफेंड कर रही हैं कि उन्होंने वर्जीनिया वुल्फ के वर्क से अपने टाइटल को नहीं लिया है, और जो उन्होंने वहाँ पे अपना रेफरेंस दिया था रिव्यूअर्स को, और सब ने उसको जो है इग्नोर कर दिया था. दे इंटरप्रेटेड द टाइटल एज रेफरेंस टू वर्जीनिया वुल्फ, whom some thought I had treated with insufficient reverence. Toril Moi perceived hidden motives of appropriation and rejection. A distinguished feminist critic like Ellen Showalter, for example, signals her subtle swear away from Virginia Woolf by taking over, yet changing Woolf's title. Under Showalter's pen, a room of one's own becomes a literature of their own. टॉरल मोई कहती है कि जो ये वर्जीनिया वुल्फ का टाइटल है अ रूम ऑफ वंस ऑन बिकम्स अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ऑन, मतलब कि शोवाल्टर ने उनके टाइटल को ए रूम ऑफ वन ऑन से अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ऑन कर दिया, as if she wished to indicate her problematic distance from the tradition of women writers she lovingly uncover in her book. जेनेट टॉड जो है वो नोट करती हैं दैट अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ओन ऑलरेडी इज स्नब मैनी थॉट टू द ओरिजिनल वुल्फियन टेक्स्ट अ रूम ऑफ वंस ऑन, मतलब ये जो है ना स्नब बोल रही हैं जेन टॉड और कह रही है वर्जीनिया वुल्फियन टेक्स्ट है ए रूम ऑफ वंस ऑन। वर्जीनिया वुल्फ वाज trounced फॉर इवेडिंग द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ फीमेलनेस in her projection of the disturbing and dark aspects of women's psyche in onto man. Only the Australian critic K. Ruthven emphasized मिल, बस एक जो ऑस्ट्रेलियन क्रिटिक थी के रुद्विन, उन्होंने ही जो है ना मतलब कि एम्फोसाइज किया है मिल को, बाकी तो सबने उसको इंटरप्रेट किया है वर्जीनिया वुल्फ के वर्क अ रूम ऑफ देयर ओन के साथ में। To take exceptions to the separatism of writing a book about women writers alone, for he argued, men and women inhabit the same countries and read each other's work habitually. Having a male critic like Ruthven comment on the book was progress. Certainly, women like writers and critic must had and do habitually read the work of men, but until very recently the reverse has not been the case. The critical reception of a literature of their own by men has been generally respectful, but among women critics the book has been both imitated and reviled. On one hand, it helped create the new field of feminist literary history and gyanocriticism, has been translated into several languages and has influenced similar undertaking around the world. Gyanocriticism. Showalter work is a central to the development of gyanocriticism, a critical approach that focuses on women's writing and its unique characteristics. I have been cited in an article on the evolution of women's rock music published in England by Virago Press. The book became accessible to British students and scholars and was even reviewed by some of women novelists I had analyzed. Carmen Khalil at Virago used my bibliography as a guide to reprinting texts in the Virago Modern Classic paperback series. And other scholars followed up on the search for manuscripts and letters. The response has more than fulfilled my hopes and dreams. But what I did not anticipate was that in feminist literary history and criticism, as in every other field, being first has its disadvantages because you become the launching pad for subsequent work and the starting point for everyone else improvement and corrections. For the past 20 years, I have been attacked from virtually every point on the feminist hermeneutics circle as separatist, careerist, theoretical, anti-theoretical, racist, homophobic, politically correct, traditional, and non canonical critic. I have come to expect new critical studies of women's writing to point out how I have failed. And in 1997, at the book exhibit at the MLA convention in Toronto, I picked up galleys of a new book which added that I had notoriously failed. Still, Being notorious for failing is better than not being noticed at all. And I decided early on that I would not defend a literature of their own. I would not defend a literature of their own against attack, but rather that I would try to let go of the book and allow intellectual debate in feminist criticism to follow its natural course. I have continued to work on women writers and on the theory of feminist criticism and to move on to other subjects as well. I have followed the cycles of criticism and attack with attention and interest, and I have even had the good fortune to live long enough to receive a few apologies in person or in print. Most important, I have had the advantages of 2 decades of a fruitful and dazzling critical revolution in women's literary history and feminist criticism to broaden my understanding, deepen my knowledge, and sharpen my thinking. A literature of their own appeared during the first wave of feminist literary criticism, which focused on rediscovery in the early 1970s. I found it important to write about continuities between generation of women writers and I deliberately foregrounded women critics as well. But the emphasis on female literary lineage is partly rhetorical, for women's writing is always at least bitextual. As I wrote in Feminist Criticism in the Wilderness, it is double voiced discourse influenced by both the dominant masculine literary tradition and muted feminine one. By the end of the 1970s, in their magisterial study of women writers, The Mad Women in the Attic, 1979, Sandra Gilbert and Susan Goober set out a compelling theory of female literary history as a dialogue between women writers and a patriarchal tradition. Their own theory was a revision of Harold Bloom's anxiety of influence, presenting the battle between the sexes as a linguistic and literary struggle that generated new genres and forms. Moreover, Gilbert and Goober mapped out an anxiety ridden terrain for 19th century women writers that seemed unconsciously to describe the psychodynamic of the contemporary feminist critic feeling of alienation from male precursor and urgent need for a female audience, dread of patriarchal authority, and internalized conflict about theoretical invention and imaginative autonomy. In their critical trilogy, No Man's Land, Gilbert and Goober moved into the 20th century to describe the ways that women artists were not only enabled but also daunted by the example of great female precursors and responded with mingled feelings of rivalry and anxiety. In the 1990s, criticism of women writing has to take the fullest possible account of the whole network of literary forces in which each text is enmeshed, and my hypothetical model of a chain of female literary influence needs to be understood as a historically specific strategy rather than a dogmatic absolute. The eve of a new century seems like the ideal time for stock taking and the prospect of a new edition of a literature of their own gives me the opportunity to reflect on what has taken place and now how I would want to change the book if I were writing it now. Theories. In the 1980s, as European theoretical models came to dominate literary criticism, feminist critics of a literature of their own pointed to my theoretical Naive and my stubborn American pragmatism, some critics identified theoretical context in my writing of which I myself had certainly been unaware. Patricia Waugh noted that theories of ego, psychologist, and the cognitive development mental model of Erikson, Piaget, and Kohlberg होवर बिहाइंड द पेजेस। मतलब ये सारे के सारे जो हैं एरिक्सन, पियाजे और कोहलबर्ग, ये सब थ्योरीज दे रहे हैं जो लर्निंग थ्योरीज हैं। स्टूडेंट्स जो हैं, जैसे जो बीएड के जो स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं ना, तो स्टूडेंट के लर्निंग की जो थ्योरीज है वो ये सब देते हैं। ये सब वो वहाँ पे ये एजुकेशन में जो है स्टूडेंट्स को सीखने के लिए, लर्निंग के लिए जो है ये सब सारी थ्योरी जो हैं हेल्पफुल हैं। Of feminist literary histories like Ellen Showalter, Gayle Green, and Coppelia Kahan argued that implicit in Showalter's argument, as is in much Anglo-American feminist criticism, is the assumption that the text and language itself are transparent media which reflect a pre-existent objective reality rather than signifying systems which inscribe ideology and are actually constitutive of reality. The most substantial attack came from Toril Moi in Sexual Textual Politics, 1985. Even before her book came out, I had heard rumors that it would be very critical of my work. मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा क्रिटिसाइज किया है टॉरिल मोई ने इनकी बुक को, जो बुक है अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ओन। मतलब टोरिल मोई ने अपनी बुक सेक्सुअल टेक्सुअल पॉलिटिक्स में एलन शोवाल्टर के वर्क अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ओन को काफ़ी क्रिटिसाइज किया है। एंड आई हैड रिसीव्ड ए लेटर फ्रॉम टोरिल मोई, और टोरिल मोई से उनको एक लेटर भी मिला एश्योरिंग मी दैट हर stringent critic came from deep sisterly respect. This is the standard feminist academic formula for brace yourself. Indeed, from the first page of the book, Sexual Textual Politics used my work along with that of Sandra Gilbert, Susan Goober, and others to exemplify the inadequacies of Anglo American feminist criticism. Moy's central argument is that my theoretical framework is never made explicit. In her view, my implicit theory was that a text should reflect the writer's experience and that the more authentic the experience is felt to be by the reader, the more valuable the text. Implicitly, she maintains my position strongly favors the form of writing commonly known as critical or bourgeois realism. Indeed, Moy declares there is detectable within her literary criticism a strong unquestioned belief in the values not of proletarian humanism but of traditional bourgeois humanism of a liberal individualist kind. In my crypto Lukácsian realism, my demand for the unitary vision and my dependence on traditional aesthetic categories, I am unable to appreciate the decentered writing of modernism and its feminist uses. Moi returns to discuss a literature of their own in 2 pages in her fourth chapter, Women Writing and Writing About Women, where she reiterated her view that its flaws lie in its unstated theoretical assumptions about the relationship between literature and reality and between feminist politics and literary evaluation. In contrast, she maintains the post-structuralist theory of French feminism in general and Julia Kristeva in particular is the most sophisticated and far-reaching form of feminist literary analysis, rejecting biologism and sentimentalism. It deconstructs the opposition between masculinity and femininity. Moi analysis of feminist criticism has been very influential, and in the UK, where sexual textual politics is a standard university text, मतलब जो मोई का जो क्रिटिसिज्म था वो बहुत इन्फ्लुएंशियल था, बिकॉज ये जो बुक आई थी सेक्सुअल टेक्सुअल पॉलिटिक्स, ये यूके में जो थी एक स्टैंडर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी टेक्स्ट थी, और उसी में उन्होंने एलन शोवाल्टर के जो वर्क है अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ओन उसको क्रिटिसाइज किया है, और काफ़ी मतलब कि स्ट्रॉन्गली क्रिटिसाइज किया है। तो जो स्टूडेंट्स थे तो उन्होंने उसी के व्यूज़ को ले लिया, और अ लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ओन जो एलन शोवाल्टर ने लिखा था उन्होंने उसको पढ़ा भी नहीं था। University text, many students take their views of a literature of their own directly from it. From it मतलब टोरेल मोई की जो सेक्सुअल टॉक्सुअल पॉलिटिक्स है उसी से ले लिया, विदाउट रीडिंग माई वर्क एट ऑल। Indisputably, I had not read or even heard of Sixu, Irigaray or Kristeva, who were barely known in US. When I finished the book in 1974, New French Feminism, edited by Alan Marx and Isabelle de Cartiveron, which introduced American scholars to French feminist writing, did not come out until 1980. But as a literary historian, I would still have found little that was useful in their work. More significantly, in her own immersion in French and Marxist criticism, Moi missed the real theoretical assumptions ऑफ ए लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ऑन। मतलब उन्होंने जो एक रियल जो इसकी एज्यूम्शन थी ना उसको जो है ना मिस कर दिया। assumptions derived from a very different approach to literature, reality, gender and canon. In Moy's view, the most important theoretical questions were philosophical: what is interpretation, what does it mean to read, what is a text. My theoretical questions, however, were historical and cultural. What is the relationship between a dominant and a muted culture? Does a muted culture have a history? अब वो जो है ना वो कहते हैं कि ना म्यूटेड कल्चर है, तो म्यूटेड कल्चर की का कभी कोई हिस्ट्री होती है? एंड ए लिटरेचर ऑफ इट्स ऑन, क्या उनका कभी कोई लिटरेचर होता है? जो इंसान को म्यूट ही कर दिया गया है, यहाँ पे फीमेल्स की बात हो रही है, जो फीमेल कल्चर है उसको जब म्यूट कर दिया गया है तो क्या ही उसकी हिस्ट्री होगी और क्या ही उसका कल्चर होगा, और उसका अपना अपना खुद का सेल्फ। और मस्ट इट ऑलवेज बी मेजर्ड अकॉर्डिंग टू द chronology, standards and values of the dominant? Can a minority criticism develop its own methods and theories through wide and careful reading of its own literary texts? How does a literary subculture evolve and change? The disciplines with answers for such questions were not philosophy and linguistics, but cultural anthropology and social history. If I were writing a literature of their own today, I would certainly have a broader comparative based in literary subcultures and in the theories that have emerged around post-colonial studies. मतलब अब वो कहती है if I were writing, अगर वो अब लिखती a literature of their own, यानी कि अभी जब वो ये इसको अपने डिफेंड कर रही हैं तो कहती है अब तो ब्रॉडर होता, क्योंकि अब ग्लोबलाइजेशन हो गया है, पोस्ट कॉलोनियल थ्योरीज के अकॉर्डिंग उसको, स्टडीज़ के अकॉर्डिंग उसको वो लिखती। आई वुड आल्सो मेक अ स्ट्रॉन्गर थ्योरेटिकल केस फॉर रियलिज्म एज अ लिटरेरी कन्वेंशन, एज जॉर्ज लेविन हैज़ डेमोन्स्ट्रेटेड in the realistic imagination. Victorian narrative realism is far from being a simplistic mimetic rendering of experience, male or female. It is a highly developed technique of representation with its own theoretical and underpinning. In addition, there is nothing inherently radical or subversive about anti-realist literary conventions. Today's avant-garde is tomorrow's advertising. Despite its intellectual vogue, French feminist theory has still not come to terms with women's writing and literary history, and many of its leading figures have moved on to other subjects. Meanwhile, Gyanocriticism, as I named the study of women's writing in 1979, has developed to offer a coherent narrative of women's literary history. वो यहाँ पे अपने ज्ञानोक्रिटिसिज्म को भी डिफाइन कर रही हैं. In relation to the literary mainstream, women writing has moved through phases of subordination, protest, and autonomy. Phases connected by recurring images, metaphors, themes, and plots that emerge from women's social and literary experience and from reading both male and female precursors. As Susan Wolfson notes in her excellent overview of feminist criticism and British literature, by the early 1980s, it was clear that feminist literary criticism and attention to female writers had gained institutional legitimacy. These achievements consolidate over the decade their success evident in the curricula of English courses from junior high school through graduate school, and the classroom anthologies have evolved accordingly. Wolfson concludes that the 1990s are shaping up a decade in which women's writing is becoming increasingly available by force of new anthologies and reprint of long out of print writing by women, and by the emergence of online texts and editions of women's writing accessible on the internet through the University of Virginia's Electronic Text Center, the Brown University Women Writers Project, and the University of Pennsylvania Department of English homepage. Literary history and the canon. I had imagined a literature of their own as a book that would challenge the traditional canons. मतलब उसने इमेजिन किया था ए लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर ओन को, एक दैट वुड चैलेंज द ट्रेडिशनल कैनन, जो मतलब कि ट्रेडिशनल जो रूढ़िवादी जो कैनन्स हैं उनको, going far beyond the handful of acceptable women writers to look at all the minor and forgotten figures whose careers and books had shaped a ट्रेडिशन. मतलब जो विमेंस थी, जो मतलब कुछ एक हैंडफुल ऑफ जो थी, थोड़ी सी जो मुट्ठी भर जो एक्सेप्टेबल वुमेन राइटर्स थी, और उनको छोड़ के मतलब कि जो माइनर और जो फॉरगॉटन फिगर्स थी, उन जिनका करियर जो था और जिनकी जो बुक्स थी, उन्होंने ये जो ट्रेडिशन है उसको बनाने के, उसको निर्माण करने में जिन्होंने योगदान दिया था. इट इज़ द only by considering them all, Millicent Grogan as well as Virginia Woolf, I wrote that we can begin to record new choices in a new literary history. I wanted to demystify the process by which some women writers had been granted greatness and reveal the material context and circumstances in which women writing was imagined, published, disseminated, and reviewed. Nevertheless, some critics have objected to my choices and omissions, and some to the idea that literary history can be written at all. Several scholars have argued that the female literary tradition in the novel begins much earlier than 1840s, and that I neglect novelist of the 18th century. मतलब वो ये कह रहे हैं कि बहुत सारे जो स्कॉलर्स हैं वो आर्ग्यू कर रहे हैं कि जो फीमेल लिटरेरी ट्रेडिशन है नॉवल का, वो तो 1840 से शुरू हो गया था, वो तो आपने नेग्लेक्ट कर दिया. Marilyn Butler objects that Showalter concludes that a continuous women's tradition can be spoken of only for writers born after 1800. मतलब कि जो 1800 के बाद जो इतनी भी राइटर्स जो हैं पैदा हुई हैं उनके बारे में. She believes that women writers before that date could not consider themselves professionals. वो ये कहती कि 1800 से पहले जो विमेंस थी वो अपने आप को, उनको प्रोफेशनल कंसिडर नहीं किया जा सकता है कि लो भाई उन्होंने एक अपनी जो है एक वो राइटर बनेगी। जैसे आजकल हम बोलते हैं कि वो डॉक्टर बनेगी, मैंने अपना करियर डॉक्टर को चूज़ किया है, तो वो मैं एक फीमेल जो है ना, एक मैं राइटर बनूँगी और एक मैंने इसी से मैंने जो है अपना एक प्रोफ़ेशन मैंने इसको चूज़ करना है एज़ ए राइटर, तो ऐसा नहीं था। एंड देयर बिकॉज़ वहाँ पे जो विमेन जो राइटर्स थी, तो उनके टेक्स्ट को जो है कोई सीरियसली लेता ही नहीं था, कोई पढ़ता ही नहीं था। जो विमेन्स थी उनको अपने टेक्स्ट को पढ़वाने के लिए मेल स्यूडोनेम यूज़ करने पड़ते थे। तो वो ऐसे में वो कैसे सोच सकती थी कि मैं एक प्रोफ़ेशनल जो है राइटर बनूँगी। Therefore, though the connection between these two propositions is not clear, could not relate to other women writers, here it is hard to know quite what thinking has gone in Showalter's use of the term professional. There was always a women writers network, though not all women writers belonged to it, and Austen herself significantly did not. Margaret J. Ezel blames my इवोल्यूशनरी मॉडल, और यो कहती है कि जो मार्गेट जे एजल है वो ब्लेम करती है मेरे इवोल्यूशनरी मॉडल को, विच लीड्स टू पार्ट टू द रेलीगेटिंग ऑफ अर्लियर वीमेन टू द अर्लीस्ट फेज ऑफ द फीमेल ट्रेडिशन। मतलब जो पहला जो फेज था जहाँ पे वीमेन जो है इमिटेट कर रही थी मेल राइटर्स को, दूसरा जब आया तो उसमें जो है वो जो मेल मॉडल था जो उसको वो चैलेंज कर रही है, और थर्ड में वो अपनी आइडेंटिटी को एक्सप्लोर कर रही हैं, तो वो उसको भी जो है क्रिटिसाइज कर रही हैं, और यहाँ पे वो ये जो है शोवाल्टर इसको डिफेंड कर रही हैं। which leads to part to the relegating of earlier women to the earlier phase of the female tradition, not very high up on the evolutionary ladder. Janet Todd, in feminist literary history, protests that Showalter can declare that women did not think of themselves as professional writers बिफोर 1800। और जेनेट टोड बोलते हैं कि 1800 से पहले वो प्रोफेशनल राइटर जो है अपने आप को जो है ना कंसीडर नहीं कर सकती थी। when there are in fact host of professional novelists in the 18th century, in this concentration on the Victorian period and on the mode of domestic realism, as well as in its ignoring of the problem of aesthetic judgment and language. A literature of their own was typical of the early phase of feminist criticism on women। मतलब कि जो उन्होंने बुक लिखी है लिटरेचर ऑफ देयर, वो जो है अब अर्लियर जो फेमिनिस्ट जो है ना, अर्ली पहले वाला जो है उसमें है। टिपिकल द अर्ली फेस ऑफ फेमिनिस्ट क्रिटिसिज्म ऑन विमेन, जो अर्ली फेस है ना फेमिनिस्ट क्रिटिसिज्म का, उसमें है। Its omissions skewed the understanding of the female past and encouraged premature generalization and did not duty for specific history. Actually, many initial research for the book had been on 18th century and earlier writers, and I have learned an enormous amount since from Butler, Ezel, Todd, Ruth Perry, Moira Ferguson, Claudia Johnson, Nancy Armstrong, Jane Spencer, Margaret Doody, Carol Barish, Susan Wolfson, Esther Score, and my husband English Showalter, who has been editing the 70 volumes of manuscripts letters of 18th century French women novelist Madame to Garifne, almost as long as we have been married. But I continue to think of that before the 19th century, as Ruth Perry points out in her splendid biography of Mary Astell, no British women planned career as a writer. There was no such concept as a women of letters। देखिए यहाँ पे जो है ना बात हो रही है कि जो करियर प्लान नहीं कर सकती थी 1800 से पहले कोई भी वीमेन, क्योंकि वहाँ पे उनका डोमेस्टिक फील्ड ही था, वो उससे बाहर निकल ही नहीं सकती थी, और विमेन के वर्क्स को कोई सीरियसली लेता ही नहीं था। मोर ओवर द अपीरियन, देखिए यहाँ पे विक्टोरियन जो नॉवलिस्ट हैं, जैसे कि हम चार्लोट ब्रंटे ले सकते हैं, तो उन्होंने भी एक मेल स्यूडोनेम यूज़ किया था अपने वर्क को पब्लिश कराने के लिए। तीनों जो ब्रंटे सिस्टर थी, उन्होंने जो है एक अपना अपने 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 मेल स्यूडोनेम्स लिए थे अपने वर्क को प्रोड्यूस कराने के लिए। जॉर्ज इलियट जो हैं, उनका असली नाम तो मैरी एन इवेंस था। तो इस तरह से सारी फीमेल जो राइटर्स जो लिख रही थी अपने वर्क को नोटिस में लाने के लिए, अपने लिए ऑडियंस ढूंढने के लिए, अपने ऑडियंस बनाने के लिए वो मेल जो है स्यूडोनोम लेती थी। Moreover, the appearance of the male pseudonym among British and European women writers from Ernest Ahlgren, Victorian Benedictson in Sweden to George Sand in France and Fernando Caballero, Cecilia Bohel in Spain was a clear historical marker of a new literary consciousness based on gender. ये सब वो women's हैं जिन्होंने male pseudonyms लिए हैं। I choose to begin in the 1840 in order to emphasize professionalism, marketing, and group awareness rather than to ignore or disdain 18th century women novelist Kathleen Tillotson Great Study Novels of the 1840s 1956, which clearly delineated the major changes in the form of marketing of novels during the decade influenced my choice as well. Geoffrey Hartman, in his influential book Criticism in the Wilderness, 1980, argues that very new literary theory is based on or generalizes from a particular text milieu. In its first phase, feminist criticism developed out of a dialogue with the Victorian patriarch Mill, Carlyle, Arnold, Marx, Freud, and with a textual preference of Victorian women novels. Moreover, Victorian studies was a field hospitable to a feminist presence early on. In its interdisciplinarity, its acceptance of women writers, and its friendliness towards women scholars and critics, many young women graduate students in my generation were drawn to the Victorian period because it was the only literary period in which women were accepted as canonical writers. Kate Millett's Sexual Politics 1970 began as a dissertation in Victorian literature at Columbia. At the interdisciplinary journal Victorian Studies, a feminist editor, Martha Vicinus, commissioned a special issue on women and widening sphere. Only later did the field of 18th century studies become receptive to feminist analysis. By the late 1970s, feminist criticism was debating differences of class and race, and my reference to the development of a black literary subculture as a precedent of feminist scholarship to use offended Barbara Smith, who commented in her essay towards a black feminist criticism that the idea of critics like Showalter using black literature is chilling, a case of barely disguised cultural imperialism. I reprinted the essay without comment when I edited the new feminist criticism, but I was chilled myself by Smith's response to my interdisciplinary efforts and her rage, the final insult. At my citation in the book of a literary history of the African American novel written by a white male.